You ever hear a sound that changes your life forever? For me, it wasn't a crash or a scream or even a whispered confession. It was the ding of a hotel room door unlocking, soft, metallic, almost polite. I had a key. She didn't know I had it. But I did. Because sometimes you just know. I wasn't a suspicious man. Not by nature. I folded my socks. I made her coffee with 2 sugars and a splash of oat milk every morning. I bought her that stupid cinnamon stick garnish because she liked the crunch. Predictable. Solid. Safe. But safe isn't sexy after a decade, apparently. The night before, she said she was going to a marketing seminar. All-day thing, she told me. Catered lunch, boring speakers, don't wait up. She even threw in a yawn and a wink, like she was doing me a favor by not dragging me along. But the thing is, she left her itinerary in the kitchen drawer. The real one. A grocery list. A hair appointment. No seminar. Just lies written in cursive. So there I was, standing in front of room 816 at the Lakeside Hotel, key card trembling in my hand like it knew what I was about to walk into. I opened the door. The room was still warm from their laughter. She wasn't in the bed. He wasn't either. But their ghosts were. The air was humid, the wine glasses were still half full, and her laugh, it echoed from the bathroom like it belonged to someone I'd never met. I didn't scream. Didn't even blink. Just took it in. The lipstick wasn't hers. The bra slung over the chair definitely wasn't mine. There was music playing from the bathroom, something jazzy, smug. Then her voice. He folds his socks, she said, laughing. And he said, that's how you know he's harmless. I stood there and watched my reflection in the TV screen. A man with a key in one hand and nothing in the other. Not anger. Not rage. Just absence. And if you're waiting for the part where I burst in and made a scene, sorry to disappoint. I left as quietly as I came. Slipped out the same way trust does, unnoticed at first, devastating once it's gone. But don't mistake silence for weakness. Because that night, I didn't just walk away. I started planning. And the funny thing about being the safe one? No one sees you coming when you decide to be dangerous. The next morning, she came home smelling like lavender shampoo and someone else's cologne. Morning, babe, she said, kissing the top of my head like it was any other Tuesday. She dropped her bag by the door, kicked off her heels, and stretched like she'd just wrapped up a yoga retreat instead of an affair. I handed her the coffee I'd made, same way as always. 2 sugars. Oat milk. Cinnamon stick. You're a saint, she mumbled, sipping. No, sweetheart. I'm the storm you've mistaken for a doormat. She didn't notice anything off. That was her talent. She could walk barefoot through broken glass and tell herself it was carpet. She even started talking about dinner plans. Thinking of trying that new Mediterranean place. Might be good for us to reset? Reset. Like our marriage was a router needing a reboot. Sure, I said. Let's reset. She smiled. That smile that used to make me feel 10 feet tall now looked like an exit sign. After she left for work, I went to the closet and pulled out the shoebox. Inside, receipts, screenshots, and a flash drive proof curated by a man who's too tired for confrontation and too awake to play dumb. I'd copied every message, every hotel charge, every love you but can't say it text she'd sent to him. And on top of it all, the piece de resistance, a photo. Taken from the hotel room window. Her and Rory James Calder. Yeah, I knew his name, walking arm in arm down the sidewalk like they were headed toward forever. Her head tossed back in laughter. His hand on her lower back. She used to laugh like that with me. Before I became the background music to her double life. But this isn't a tragedy. This is a setup. You'll see. I called in sick. Took the day to start closing accounts. Set up a new one. Quiet moves. Chess, not checkers. She thought I was folding socks. Turns out, I was folding my exit strategy. And before the day ended, I mailed something to her office. No return address. Just one square envelope with a photo inside. On the back, in neat black ink, you left me first. Now it's my turn. Friday was our anniversary. Ironic, right? 10 years for apartments, 1 failed sourdough starter phase, and more holiday photos than we could fit into 3 albums. 10 years of compromise, shared calendars, couples brunches, inside jokes about Trader Joe's cashiers, and she spent the morning texting him. I watched her from across the table at the cafe. Her phone buzzed. She smiled at it. I stirred my coffee. You seem quiet today, she said. I was barely lifting from the screen. Just thinking, I replied. About how you wore the necklace I gave you while planning your getaway with someone else. About how you didn't even flinch when I mentioned booking a cabin for the weekend, A place we used to go before you traded sincerity for spontaneity with a man who uses hair gel unironically. You sure everything's okay? She asked, voice syrupy. I nodded. Never better. We finished brunch. She kissed my cheek. Don't forget, I have that work dinner tonight. I watched her walk away in heels she said hurt her feet, except when she wore them for him. Back home, I opened her laptop. She always used my old password, because changing things required effort. Her browser history read like a roadmap to betrayal. Hotel bookings. A jewelry site. A Pinterest board titled, One Day, shared with a user named Rory C. One day? Cute. I clicked through. Cake samples. Sunset venues. A tab still open to an article called, How to Tell Your Husband You're Not in Love Anymore. Bold of her to research that while still living in my house, drinking my coffee, and pretending we were something worth pretending for. I took a walk to clear my head. Ended up at the lake, the same place where I told her, once, even if you feel lost, I'll always be your home. Turns out, she was just leasing. When I got back, I left the door unlocked and went to bed early. She didn't come home that night. She didn't know that was her final anniversary dinner. I did. Because while she was toasting her new life with him, I was finalizing the paperwork for mine. Divorce packet, notarized. Locks changed. Keys recoded. Shared cloud account disabled. And one more thing. I deleted her from the security system and added a motion alert to the front door. Let her try walking back in. Saturday morning came with an eerie kind of quiet, the kind of silence that feels earned. The kind that doesn't demand an explanation. I was already packed. 2 suitcases, one for the essentials, the other for everything that ever meant something. Not everything she touched, just the pieces that were mine before she walked into my life and started rearranging the furniture and my sense of self. She still hadn't come home, which made things easier, cleaner. At 7:43 a.m., I brewed one last cup of coffee in that kitchen. Her cup, the one that said Boss Babe in gold script. I drank from it on purpose. Petty? Maybe. Satisfying? Immensely. I walked the house one final time, not for sentiment, but for confirmation. I wasn't going to forget anything. Not again. In the hallway closet, tucked behind board games we never played, was a box I hadn't opened since our 4th anniversary. Inside, a letter I wrote her but never gave. The kind of letter a younger version of me thought might fix things. I read the first line and smiled. Foolish, hopeful man. I tossed it in the trash. By 9 a.m., I was in the garage, loading the car. Neighbors waved. I waved back. They didn't know it was goodbye. Not yet. At 9:27, her car finally pulled into the driveway. Of course. She stepped out wearing sunglasses and that thin-lipped expression she wore when she was mentally rehearsing a story she hoped I wouldn't question. Hair tousled just enough to imply spontaneity, makeup fresh enough to say it wasn't a hangover. A professional liar in casual wear. You're up early, she said, eyeing the packed trunk like it might explain itself. I leaned against the car and looked her square in the face. I'm leaving. Her jaw tightened. For what? Coffee? No. For good. There was a beat of silence where the world paused, like even the birds decided to sit this one out. She laughed, too loud, too fast. Come on. Don't be dramatic. I didn't flinch. You're engaged to someone else, Tessa, while still married to me. If anyone's earned drama, it's me. Her smile faltered. You went through my things? No. I went through mine. And yours happened to be lying all over it. She crossed her arms. You're taking this the wrong way. Oh, good. So the invitation to your engagement party I found in our bedroom was a misunderstanding? It's not like that, she snapped. You've been distant. You stopped trying. No, I stopped bending. There's a difference. Tessa opened her mouth, probably to deliver a monologue she thought would cast her as the confused but brave woman rediscovering herself. But I beat her to it. You laugh more when you're not with me, I said quietly. Her face dropped like I'd pulled the floor out from under her. She knew the line. She remembered saying it. She just didn't know I'd actually heard it. I took a step closer. You didn't lose me, Tessa. You just didn't notice when I left. She blinked. Once. Twice. No tears. She wasn't a crier, remember? That would have required regret. You can't just walk out like this, she said finally, reaching for control like a waitress grabbing a falling tray. I already have. Where will you go? I shrugged. Somewhere that doesn't smell like lies and lavender body wash. You're not even going to talk this through with me? That's what we did for 10 years. Talk. About fixing, changing, compromising. I gave you every version of myself. The reliable one. The romantic one. The one who folds his socks. Tessa blinked. But you didn't want any of them. You wanted Rory Calder. A man whose only talent is owning a silver watch and not being me. She looked away. Her hands trembled just enough to betray her. So that's it. That's it, I said. No fights. No grand speeches. Just you getting exactly what you chose. She tried again. You think you're better than me? No. I just think I'm finally done making myself small enough for you to feel big. I opened the driver's door. Behind me, she said, I hope you regret this someday. I paused, then turned back to her with a smile that wasn't cruel, just tired. I already regret staying this long. I drove away. No horn blaring. No middle finger out the window. Just the quiet hum of a man choosing his peace over her chaos. I didn't look back. And the best part? She stood in that driveway for a long time. Not calling. Not chasing. Just realizing for the first time that she couldn't spin this one. That I wasn't coming back. That maybe the man who folds his socks also knows how to pack up his dignity and drive off like a gentleman. By the time I hit the state line, the GPS rerouted me to avoid traffic. I took the long way. Not because I needed the scenery, though a pine tree that doesn't lie is a welcome change of pace, but because I needed time. Time to let the silence settle in. Time to remind myself that leaving wasn't failure, it was graduation. I booked a cabin. Remote. Wi-Fi optional. The kind of place where the air smells like wood smoke and moss, and nobody asks what you're running from. I told the owner I was a writer. Not a lie. I just hadn't started yet. That night, I lit a fire, opened a bottle of something dark, and stared into it like it might answer all the questions I didn't know how to ask. She hadn't called. Not once. I told myself that was good. But then the messages started. Monday, 10:04 a.m. You left without giving me a chance to explain. Explain what? That I was plan B until a better offer got down on one knee? Monday, 1:12 p.m. I didn't want it to happen like this. I thought we could be adults. That's rich coming from someone who RSVP'd to her own betrayal. Tuesday, 9:47 a.m. You took the flash drive. I want it back. There it was. Not love. Not loss. Just leverage. See, she didn't know I had copies. I backed up every photo, every text thread, every receipt onto a secure cloud before I walked out that door. If she was worried about reputations, she should have thought about that before inviting a camera-happy coworker to her work dinners. I didn't reply. Instead, I called Dylan. He picked up on the second ring. Holy hell, Elle, where are you? Alive, I said. You still have those pictures? Every single one. Want me to send him? Nope. Just hold on to them. Insurance. He whistled low. She's freaking out. Keeps asking where you went. Told her you were taking space. Thanks, I said. And Elle? Yeah. You sound different. Good different. No. Dangerous different. I smiled. After we hung up, I sat down and drafted a letter. Not to her. To a lawyer. A good one. The kind that specializes in clean exits and scorched earth. I wanted out. Not just to the marriage, but the history, the house, the memories. By Thursday, the paperwork was moving. The house? Going on the market. I didn't care what she did with her half. Let her hang it on Rory's wall if she wanted. The accounts? Split down the middle. Clean. Legal. Surgical. The flash drive? Still tucked in my backpack. Unbothered. Untouched. But not forgotten. See, I wasn't planning revenge. I was planning a reminder. Because Tessa had a habit of rewriting stories. She'd done it with her ex before me, painted him as cold and distant. But now I understood, it wasn't that he was cold. It's that she needed heat from too many fireplaces to stay interested in one. So I gave her space to build her narrative. Let her friends think I was dramatic. Let her think I was licking wounds. Then I did something unexpected. I sent her flowers. A single black tulip. With a card that read, I finally understand the joke. Thanks for the punchline. She didn't respond. But the next morning, my lawyer forwarded me a message. It was from hers. Suddenly, she wanted to settle. Quietly. No court. No mess. Funny how quick people change their tone when they realize you're not bluffing. But here's the part that caught me off guard. That night, I got a voicemail. Not angry. Not performative. Just her. Crying. I miss you, she whispered. I didn't think you'd really leave. I sat on the porch of that cabin, phone to my ear, listening to the woman who replaced me trying to mourn something she didn't even value when she had it. I made a mistake, she said. He's not you. I could have laughed. But I didn't. I just hit delete. Because by then, I'd already started building something new. Not a relationship. Not a rebound. Just me. The guy who folds his socks and walks away from the wreckage with clean hands and a clear conscience. I didn't need revenge. She had to wake up next to the man she thought she wanted and realize he wasn't even close. And me? I was already somewhere else. Free. Steady. Whole. With a flash drive in my backpack and a future she wasn't invited to. 3 weeks. That's how long it took before she stopped calling. First it was voicemails. Then texts. Then silence. Not the peaceful kind. The kind that hisses between your ears like a broken wire still carrying just enough current to buzz. But me? I was fine. I learned how to make pancakes for one. Bought flannel sheets. Got used to the sound of rain without her weather app voice announcing, chance of thunderstorms. I even started talking to the neighbor's dog like we were old war buddies. Freedom doesn't come with a drum roll. It sneaks up on you. Somewhere between deleting shared playlists and realizing you don't have to explain why you bought 3 different brands of mustard just because they looked interesting. And then, just when I thought I'd settled into obscurity, vanished enough for her to forget me, I got a letter. Not an email. Not a text. A real envelope. Cream-colored. Embossed. Return address. Calder and Whitlock Events. Yeah, the audacity. Inside was a formal invitation. Join us in celebrating the engagement of Tessa Marie Whitlock and Rory James Calder. Complete with a date, venue, menu options, and a smiling engagement photo. She was wearing my grandmother's earrings. The ones she swore she didn't like. Said they were too vintage. In the picture, her head leaned against Rory's like they were posing for a toothpaste ad. He looked smug. She looked like someone playing the lead role in a life she wrote overnight. I stared at it for a long time. Not out of jealousy. Just awe. I mean, you have to respect the speed of the delusion. That evening, I made myself a steak. Rare. Just because she hated it that way. Then I sat down and wrote my RSVP. But I didn't send it. I had a different plan. 1 week later, I walked into a downtown art supply store and bought a blank canvas. The cashier asked if I was painting again. I said, sort of. Then I booked a flight. Not to escape. To observe. See, the venue they picked? I knew it. Intimately. A lakefront estate we once toured, back when she still talked about forever without crossing her fingers. She said it was too much money back then. Too flashy. Yes, Rory wasn't too much money. On the day of the event, I didn't wear black. Too predictable. I wore gray. The color of storms after they've passed. I arrived early. Not to sneak in. To watch. I parked across the street with binoculars, like some more cliché. But it wasn't creepy, it was closure. Or maybe research. You decide. The guests filed in, clinking glasses, taking selfies, pretending love doesn't rot if you neglect it long enough. Then she walked out onto the lawn. Hair curled. Smile tight. Wearing a dress that probably had a name like Champagne Dusk or Blush Ambition. She looked beautiful, but not mine. Never really was. The part that got me? The speech. She took the mic, laughed too loud, thanked everyone for believing in second chances, for supporting love that found its way through the fog. Fog. That's what she called me, I guess. She said, sometimes life surprises you. Sometimes the right person was just waiting for the wrong time to end. I leaned back in my car seat and whispered, "You're welcome." She never saw me. I didn't crash the party. Didn't torch the venue. Didn't out-order the crowd. I just watched. And when it ended, I left before the cake was even cut. Back at the cabin, I sat by the fire with a notebook. Wrote down what I saw, what I felt, what I didn't. And then I burned the invitation. Because sometimes, the most powerful revenge isn't noise. It's absence. No dramatic confrontation. No exposed secrets. Just the quiet certainty that she would spend the rest of her new life wondering if I ever saw it happen. Wondering if I cared. Spoiler, I did. Just not in the way she hoped. She wanted regret. I gave her indifference. And that's how you disappear with style. I didn't think she'd contact me again. After the engagement party surveillance, the burned RSVP, the vanishing act so clean it left no fingerprints, I figured that was the final chapter. Curtain drawn. Credits rolled. But narcissists have a sixth sense for the spotlight shifting. When you stop orbiting them, their gravity panics. The first message was a photo. Just a picture of her hand, still wearing the ring. Caption, "Doesn't feel the same without you." My phone didn't buzz. I'd muted her months ago, but I saw it the next time I opened my inbox. buried under spam and a discount code for new running shoes. I stared at it for a second, not because it stirred anything, but because it was predictable. Like a rerun of a show I stopped watching mid-season. She sent another the next day, then another. Some were sweet, others passive-aggressive. A few were full-on desperation, disguised as poetic metaphors about fate and timing and unfinished stories. She must have read a lot of greeting cards lately. Eventually, she asked to meet. Just coffee, no drama. And because I'm either a glutton for irony or finally curious enough to see her from the outside, I said yes. I picked the place. A small cafe downtown with low lighting, exposed brick, and zero tolerance for tantrums. She arrived in a coat 2 sizes too big. Probably meant to look casual. Disheveled. Relatable. I saw right through it. "Hey," she said, sliding into the booth. "Hey," I replied. No smile. Just a neutral tone that told her I was here, but not hers. She fiddled with the sleeve of her coat. "You look good. Healthy, you mean?" She winced. "I deserve that. You deserve more than that. But I'm not here for retribution. I'm here because I'm curious. What does someone say to the ghost they made?" She leaned forward. "I didn't mean for it to happen the way it did. Tessa, you didn't mean for it to look the way it did. That's not the same thing." She took a breath like she was bracing herself for honesty. "Rory's not what I thought he'd be." I sipped my coffee. "I mean, he's fine," she added quickly. "He's stable. Successful. All the things I thought I wanted. Except," she looked down at her napkin, "he doesn't know me. Not like you did." "Correction," I said. "He doesn't know who you used to be. Big difference." She looked up. "I miss that version of me." I nodded. "So do I." We sat in silence for a minute. The cafe buzzed around us. Soft clinks of ceramic, low hum of conversation, the occasional hiss of a milk frother. "You were right," she said. "Back then. About everything. I was the one who left first. I just didn't know it yet." I leaned back. "You knew. You just hoped I wouldn't notice." Tessa wrapped her hands around her mug like she needed something to anchor her. "I think I needed to burn it down to see if anything would follow me through the smoke," she admitted. And she laughed, bitter and small. "I'm still choking on it." I didn't offer comfort. That wasn't my role anymore. Instead, I reached into my coat pocket and slid something across the table. "The flash drive." She froze. "You kept it," she whispered. "I kept a copy. This one's yours. I don't need it anymore." She didn't touch it, just stared at it like it might explode. "I thought you might have used it," she said quietly. I thought about it. But then I realized, humiliation isn't justice. It's just noise. She finally met my eyes. "So what is justice?" I stood up, dropped a 20 on the table, "Leaving you with nothing to rewrite." Her lips parted like she wanted to say something, anything. But nothing came out. I walked out without looking back. That night, she sent one final message. "If you ever change your mind." I deleted it. Because I already had. After that cafe meeting, something in me settled. Not peace exactly, but placement. She wasn't a wound anymore. She was a scar. A reminder. A story I didn't need to reread. I stayed in the cabin another week. Chopped firewood I didn't need. Cooked meals that made no sense. Ever try steak with blueberry jam? Surprisingly decent. Like freedom. Unexpected but satisfying. No calls from her. No more emails. Just silence. And silence, it turns out, is an excellent therapist. Doesn't interrupt. Doesn't judge. Just listens and lets you arrive wherever you're meant to go. One night, I sat on the porch with a notepad. Wrote one word at the top. After. Because everything up until now had been before. The collapse, the unraveling, the gut punches disguised as conversations. But now, this was the after. And in the after, I had plans. First order of business, reclaim my name. Legally, I had filed everything. Divorce, processed. Asset division, finalized. The house, sold. She kept the furniture. I kept my self-respect. I changed my number. Not out of bitterness. Just hygiene. People don't realize it, but recovery is less about healing and more about routine. You clean. You cut away. You schedule joy into your day like a meeting with yourself. And you don't cancel. I started painting again. Nothing fancy. Just colors and canvas and no expectations. It didn't matter if it was good. It mattered that it was mine. One morning, I drove into town and bought a used pickup. The guy asked if I wanted to trade in my old sedan. I laughed. "No," I said. "That thing survived a marriage. It's earned retirement." The guy nodded like he'd heard that kind of joke before from people who weren't joking. That afternoon, I drove the truck up to a bluff overlooking the lake, parked it, climbed onto the hood, watched the clouds roll by. And that's when it hit me. I wasn't just alone. I was unreachable. There's a difference. You see, being alone is circumstantial, temporary. Being unreachable? That's a choice. A declaration. You don't get to break me, then ask how I'm doing. You don't get to skip the apology and send poetry. You don't get to return when the excitement fades, like I'm a backup plan with a heartbeat. I wasn't just done. I was ghost-proof. It was a Thursday when I finally opened the backup. The flash drive. The one I didn't give her. Not because I wanted to punish her, but because some things deserve witnesses. And if no one else would testify, I'd be my own jury. I plugged it into the cabin's laptop. No folder names. Just timestamps. Messages. Screenshots. Video clips. There it was, her laugh with Rory in the hotel hallway. A mirror selfie she'd sent him, one I'd never seen before. Her caption, "Don't worry. He's still folding socks." I stared at it for a long time. Then I created a new folder. Labeled it Proof of Life. Inside, I dropped only one file, a photo of me. Taken the morning I left, standing beside my car, holding 2 suitcases and the weight of 10 years. My face wasn't angry. It wasn't bitter. It was free. I renamed the file, The Day I Lived. Then I unplugged the flash drive, slid it into an envelope, and mailed it to her. No note. No explanation. Just the evidence. Because I knew what it would do. She'd open it expecting leverage. Instead, she'd find something she couldn't manipulate, the truth. And not her version. The version she'd been selling to friends, to Rory, maybe even to herself. No, this was something raw. Documented. Dated. Unapologetic. You don't get to say, "It wasn't like that," when the receipts spell your name in bold font. You don't get to say, "I didn't mean to," when you RSVP to your own affair. You don't get to say, "I didn't know what I was doing," when every photo is timestamped and curated. I sent the flash drive, then deleted the folder from my computer. Not because I was erasing it, but because I'd already archived it where it mattered, in memory. And memory doesn't lie when you stop trying to forgive what can't be fixed. 2 days later, I got a voicemail. Breathless. Quiet. Dangerous in its calm. "You had no right," she whispered. No anger. Just fragility with a sharp edge. That was her tell. She knew the game was over. I didn't respond. Because justice isn't always a fight. Sometimes, it's just the truth arriving uninvited. I didn't plan to see her again. After the flash drive arrived, after the last voicemail, after the final crack in her carefully curated version of reality, I figured she'd retreat. Reframe the story. Blame stress. Rewrite her own ending. But Tessa always had one final move. The desperation card. The "I didn't know what I had until it was gone" speech. She'd used it before. On friends. On family. On me. So when I got the certified letter, I wasn't surprised. What had surprised me? It wasn't a plea. It was an invitation. Not to the wedding, God no. That ship had already sunk. This was something else. A private dinner. One night. One address. Just us. "I need to say it in person," she wrote. "You deserve to hear it." Deserve. Funny word, coming from her. I almost ignored it. Almost let it rot in the bottom of the mailbox like one of her promises. But something in me stirred. Not hope. Not curiosity. Closure. So I went. Not in a suit. Not in rage. I went dressed like the man I'd become. Weathered, calm, and completely untouchable. The restaurant was fancy. Too fancy for a conversation meant to bury a ghost. Candlelight. Piano. The smell of redemption reheated. She was already there. She stood when she saw me. Her expression was rehearsed. Grateful. Shaky. "Elle," she said, like my name still had rights to her mouth. "Tessa." We sat. Small talk stumbled and died quickly. Neither of us had anything small to say. Finally, she reached into her purse and pulled out a piece of paper. "I wrote it down," she said. "What I came to say. I didn't trust myself to get it right." She unfolded it, hands trembling like she was giving a eulogy. And maybe she was. She read, "I betrayed you, not just with someone else, but with 1,000 little cuts I disguised as jokes, silences, and missed moments. I didn't respect what I had. I wanted fireworks and called your steadiness dull. I mistook reliability for weakness. And now? Now I realize I built nothing that can survive without you. I'm sorry." She looked up, eyes glassy. I nodded once. "That it?" I asked. She blinked. That's everything. I reached into my own coat and pulled out a letter of my own. Not handwritten. Not poetic. Just a printed document. A signed statement. Notarized. Sealed. Her face changed the second she saw the title. Revocation of inheritance claim. She opened it. Scanned quickly. This. What is this? It's exactly what it says. You're out. Entirely. No claims. No loopholes. Her mouth opened, then closed. She glanced around, as if expecting applause for showing up. I said I was sorry. And I said thank you, I replied. This is me making sure there's no encore. She looked down. So that's it. That's it. She swallowed. You're really never coming back. I was never yours to keep, I said. You just had a front row seat to the best parts of me. And you thought they'd always be on repeat. I stood up, tossed a few bills on the table. As I turned to leave, she said, he left. I stopped. Rory, she said quietly. He couldn't take the guilt. Or the silence. Or maybe just me. I nodded. Then I guess we both walked away with what we deserved. She didn't follow me. Not this time. She just sat there, holding a document she couldn't rewrite, across from an empty chair she would never fill again. Outside, the air was crisp. Clean. I stepped into my truck, turned the key, and drove away. Not in anger. Not in grief. Just forward. And in my rearview mirror, the past finally stayed where it belonged. Gone. Exactly the way I left it.